the capital of the Byzantine Empire, Constantinople. The red glow of the setting sun is visible in the sky, but today there is a subdued tension mixed with it. Emperor Manuel of the Byzantine Empire sits inside his palace, reviewing papers with unwavering focus. In front of him lies a draft of many broken agreements. Every pact, every promise has been violated by the Turkish sultans one by one. He knows that the upcoming campaign will pose a great threat to the very existence of the Byzantine Empire. What more can they do? They have brought us to ruin time and again. Emperor Manuel grumbles softly. His general Constantine, sitting on the adjacent throne, glances up and looks at him. Your Majesty, the Turks are no longer merely speaking. They are preparing for war. Their hatred and resentment toward us have grown. If we are not fully prepared, disaster is inevitable. Other generals in the palace nod in agreement. They all know that this war will be not only a fight for survival, but also a test of their glory and existence. Sultan Arturan, the supreme commander of the Turkish army, sits in his tent, a smooth copper map in front of him. The borders of the Byzantine Empire are marked clearly on it. His army has already begun preparations. Ancient Arabian horses, swords, and inscriptions. Every item is being carefully prepared. While riding his horse and guiding the warriors, he inspires their strength and morale. His army is ready for battle. I may be getting old, but this war will open a new horizon for us, Sultan Arturan says to his chief general. Now we must march toward their cities and prove our strength. Sultan Arturan knows that this battlefield will not just be about capturing a fortress or a city. It will be the final chance to end the Byzantine Empire. Meanwhile, a wedding is being arranged among his generals, combining thoughts of war and family joy. But these happy moments will not last, as something ominous looms. As the Turkish army begins its preparations, the Byzantine generals gather to discuss their strategy. Among them is the chief general, Demetrios, a man with dark skin and powerful arms, who is meticulously devising their tactics. He believes that despite the increasing strength of the Turks, their inherent weakness lies in their strategy. On the battlefield, the Byzantines will never lose. Then, an unexpected event occurs. As Emperor Manuel is finalizing the preparations of his army, he receives devastating news. The Turkish forces are not merely preparing, they are already taking steps toward Byzantine cities. Panic spreads within the Byzantine palace. General Demetrios and other high-ranking officials bring the report to Emperor Manuel, informing him that the Turks have already responded to their first assault. Sultan Arturan has begun his attack. Your Majesty, the time has come. The Turks have reached the borders of our city, Demetrios says, his voice filled with anxiety. Their army is much larger. We must intensify our preparations for resistance. Manuel thinks deeply. He knows that if the Turks penetrate the Byzantine Empire, the consequences will be catastrophic. But the Byzantine army is not small. It has a long history of victories. We will begin the war, but at the right time, at the right place. We must counter their strength with strategy, not just numbers, he declares. Emperor Manuel then orders his generals to prepare for battle in the cities and fortify the defenses. Byzantine soldiers position themselves at the main city gates at dawn, ready for battle. Preparations across the city begin. Guard forces are increased, walls are strengthened, and escape routes are blocked. Sultan Arturan, who has already arrived at the Byzantine border with his army, is ready for war. But just before the battle begins, tragedy strikes. His most trusted general dies. During a night raid, a special Byzantine force attacks and the general is killed. Arturan is devastated, but his resolve hardens. There is no turning back now. The Turkish army's anger and hatred are now fully concentrated. They only desire war and wish to take Constantinople. Our hatred cannot be hidden any longer. Now we must take revenge on them. Set fire to every corner of their city, every house, Arturan declares, his eyes blazing with the fire of war. A fierce determination arises in him, one that deeply influences the hearts of his generals. They all knew that this war would no longer be just a military campaign. It would be a fight for the survival of a nation. Meanwhile, a cultural terror spreads within the Turkish army. Along with preparing for war, one general has another thought in mind: a wedding. It was the most important event of his life. But within the wedding, there was a hidden tension that would soon push everyone into grave misfortune. Though the army was consumed by the excitement of war, the wedding was of special importance in Turkish society. It was a means of solidifying a bond between two great powers. This day will be memorable for me. Not just for us. This wedding will mark the beginning of a new era, General Siraj Taman says, presenting a rose to his wife, Elizabeth. Elizabeth, a beautiful Byzantine woman, had stepped into a new chapter of her life amidst the dire circumstances of war. But as the joyful moments unfolded, the shadow of impending danger loomed large. This was the beginning of a terrible day. As Sultan Arturan prepared for his wedding, the Byzantine soldiers suddenly launched an attack on the Turks. The first strike hits the Turkish camp, where General Siraj Taman and his bride Elizabeth were preparing for their wedding. "Attack! Attack!" a soldier cries. At the most painful moment, the Byzantine soldiers begin their assault. Elizabeth, who was familiar with war, had hoped for a peaceful night. But that peace was shattered in an instant. The final blow to the wedding comes when Byzantine soldiers engage in combat with the general's bodyguards, pushing Elizabeth toward death. Her death is an unexpected blow to the war, a tremendous loss not only for Siraj Taman, but for the entire Turkish army. The battlefield has now turned into total chaos. Sultan Arturan, having lost his bride, decides to take even harsher revenge. The Turkish army rampages through the Byzantine cities, while the Byzantine forces put up a strong resistance. Though the Turks charge on horseback, the Byzantines are solidly positioned within their fortresses. Swords, arrows, and hailstorms of stones are launched at the walls of each fortress. Now both armies know that this war will decide their future. After the Turkish army's attacks across the city, the situation in Constantinople deteriorates completely. The Byzantines, though prepared, are gradually slowing down the Turkish progress by using their fortifications strategically. "There's no way we can hold out for much longer," Demetrios says with great concern, his eyes filled with fear. "We must counterattack. If we retreat step by step, the entire empire will fall." Emperor Manuel takes a deep breath. He knows that this war is not just a battle for the Byzantines' survival, but a final test of the nation itself. We must prepare for the final battle against the Turks. If we unite and challenge them, we can break their strength, says the emperor. His voice resolute, but his eyes filled with deep sorrow for the future of his country. General Siraj Taman, whose pain over the death of his beloved wife had only fueled his hatred for the Byzantines, declares, "I will never forget the day I saw her for the last time. Now the Byzantines have killed our general's wife. We will take revenge." With a fierce resolve, Siraj Taman knew that the war would now be not just a military fight, but a psychological one as well. Their escape route is blocked. Now we must be vigilant. We will attack each city and destroy all Byzantine forces one by one, he said in a cold voice. The Turkish general's new aggression grows. His heart is filled not with blood, but with excitement and hunger for victory. But the personal sorrow remains, a grief that may never end. In the heart of Constantinople, the Byzantines begin their last stand. They know this war is not just a fight for existence, but for their honor as well. General Demetrios, an experienced commander, is working hard to prepare his forces. However, a fear lingers in his mind. The Turks have already drained most of our strength. If we retreat now, we will be defeated forever, he says. However, some of the generals begin to rebel. They believe that the emperor's strategy is no longer effective. Among them, General Nicholas secretly plans a rebellion with his army. He wants to defy the emperor's orders and fight on their own terms. "This is our war," Nicholas says. "Following the emperor's orders will bring no benefit. If we fight on our own, we might have some success." Even the emperor faces opposition. Some generals debate the strategy, wanting to retain power within their own ranks. Emperor Manuel soon learns that his army has fractured. But he knows that if they do not fight together now, the entire Byzantine Empire will vanish. The Byzantine army prepares for one final stand against the Turks. Emperor Manuel knows that only a coordinated attack can decide this war. He gathers General Demetrios and the others to create a final battle plan. "Today's battle might be our last chance for glory," the emperor says. "The Turks cannot threaten us. We will challenge them." General Siraj Taman understands that today's battle will be the final one. If he is to win, he must fight with all his strength. The battle begins. Both sides clash fiercely. The Turkish army rides on horseback, striking with swords, while the Byzantines defend from their strongholds. The sound of swords, rivers of blood, and the cries of wounded soldiers fill the air. After all the preparations, this battle will determine the future of both the Byzantine and Turkish empires. But amidst the personal losses, the human suffering and thirst for revenge will linger forever. The battlefield is a nightmare. The Turkish army attacks with all its strength, while the Byzantines try their utmost to resist. But the Turkish army's unstoppable advance and battle tactics prove more successful. The Byzantine army, though standing firm in defense, weakens under the force of the Turkish assault. In the final stages, the Turks continue to crush the Byzantines. The Turkish cavalry moves forward, turning Byzantine cities into rubble. "We are victorious," General Siraj Taman, the Turkish commander, declares. His voice carries joy, but deep sorrow remains in his heart due to the pain of Elizabeth's death. Yet that sorrow has now been replaced by a thirst for victory. The Turks raise their victorious flag over the ruins. The fall of the Byzantine Empire is now inevitable. After the Turkish victory, Emperor Manuel sits in a dark room in Constantinople. The beginning of the Byzantine Empire's downfall is visible in his eyes. As the city descends into ruin, he knows that there is no hope left. "We have lost our history, our glory, everything," Emperor Manuel says, his voice filled with sorrow. Demetrios, the emperor's loyal general, stands silently for a moment before speaking. His voice breaks as he tries to speak, unable to contain the sadness. "The Turks have defeated us, but we must never lose our dignity," Manuel says, though his voice lacks strength. This defeat will remain a dark chapter in Byzantine history. The Turkish army opens the gates of Constantinople and begins flowing into the city. As they do, the dark days of the Byzantine Empire begin. The Turks raise their victorious flag over the streets, and a mournful wind blows through the city. Turkish commander Siraj Taman announces, "From today, Constantinople is under Turkish control. The Byzantine Empire has fallen. We pay our respects to Sultan Arturan for this victory." It was an epic moment marking the fall of Byzantine glory and the rise of Turkish power. It was the moment when a new era began on the map of Europe. After the fall of Constantinople, Emperor Manuel flees for his life. However, he knows that he will never restore his beloved empire. Many had abandoned him, and Manuel had lost his power. He makes a silent decision and heads toward the Turkish army's updated forces. The Byzantine Empire is now just history. Emperor Manuel knows the world will bear witness to his fall. Sultan Arturan announces his victory and strengthens his power. After the fall of Constantinople, Sultan Arturan begins to lead the Turkish Empire toward prosperity. After the victory, he and Siraj Taman aim to establish a new reign, one that requires a fresh perspective, different from the predecessors of the Byzantine era. The Turkish crown now boasts a new gem. Sultan Arturan was not just the conqueror of an empire, but the one who ushered in a new cultural era. As Constantinople fell under Turkish rule, the Byzantine civilization plunged into a deep crisis. The city, once one of the most powerful and wealthy in the world, was now under new rulers. Byzantine culture gradually faded, although some traditions and remnants remain part of history. Despite their efforts to preserve their cultural heritage, the Byzantines' strength weakened under Turkish dominance and the new system of governance. The Byzantine civilization gradually faded away, but their history, art, and philosophy continue to influence the world. Thus, the Turks emerged victorious through war and defeated the Byzantine Empire. Constantinople fell to the Turks, and Byzantine civilization vanished into a new era. The human suffering and thirst for revenge within the war will forever remain in memory.